Sunday, October 21st. W5 with Eric Malley.
Good evening. Welcome to W5. Tonight in a special report, we raise some troubling questions about a passenger airplane that's being touted as the safest in the world. It uses the most advanced computer technology. The Airbus A320 can almost fly itself. But just how much should pilots trust it?
Oh, yeah. It's a nice aircraft to fly, but don't make a mistake. It's unforgiving.
Back on the ground, we'll be talking to a woman who traded a conventional career for the competitive world of car racing. But first, our special report. It's not a good time to be in the airline business. Air Canada has announced layoffs of nearly 3,000 workers, and at Canadian Airlines, cutbacks are coming too. The charter airline Worldways has stopped flying because it can't pay its bills. Costs have been rising steadily in the airline industry for some time, and to help solve their problems, both Air Canada and Canadian are counting on a new plane, a radically new plane from Europe that's supposed to be safer and use less gas. It's so automatic, the company asks, do you even know that there's a crew, a pilot, on board? It'll be grand if it lives up to its billing, but our investigation looking at airlines on 4 continents showed that there have been lots of problems with the new plane and some bewildering things going on. If you fly or know someone who flies, you'll want to watch and make up your own mind about progress. The space-age A320. Presented by Airbus Industry in Toulouse, France. It looks like any other plane on the outside, but beneath the skin, it's closer to Starship Enterprise. The A320 is flown through computers. They're more reliable than pilots for a new era of safety and efficiency in the air. Spain, Germany, and Great Britain are all partners in this bold new venture. Here at rollout 3.5 years ago, the royalty may have been British, but the flair was decidedly French. A record 400 had been ordered before the first one even flew.
And what I want to show you is that as soon as airborne, I may release the stick and the computer take care of the aircraft. Let me get it.
Foolproof computers, armchair flying.
The computer, as long as I do not give an instruction to the computer, it keeps the wing level, it keeps the heading.
Like magic. And to introduce the A320, Captain Michel Asselin, Chief Air France instructor on the new plane. He taught other pilots the ease and safety, the wonders of computer flight.
I must say, I love this aircraft very much.
Air France was first in line for the glamorous new plane, and Michel Asselin was in the cockpit from day one. It was day 3 for this plane, brand new, all painted up in the Air France colors. The company loaded up 130 VIPs and sent Asselin out to wow the crowd at an air show. It was a perfect June day at Habsheim near the Swiss border. 15,000 people were watching, amazed that such a big plane could come in so low, so slowly, protected all the way by its fail-safe computers.
Oh yeah! Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
It came down so gently. Miraculously, only 3 people died. Both Captain Michel Asselin and the co-pilot were alive. And everyone wanted to know why had the safest plane in the sky turned into Asselin's own Titanic. Picking through the wreckage, Asselin insisted, as he had from the beginning, that he'd tried to put on more power, but the engines didn't respond. Also looking for clues were the French authorities. Within 48 hours, their verdict was wired around the world. All pilot error. Before hitting the ground, Asselin had been flying far too low. Huge relief at the Airbus factory, and with all the European governments who had $10 billion riding on the company. It was a critical time in Toulouse. Air Canada was about to order 34 A320s worth almost $2 billion. Airbus had beat Boeing in its own backyard. But now, with the first plane in the ground, everyone was watching to see if Air Canada would get cold feet. Not to worry. Just 3 weeks later, Air Canada signed the deal. France had quickly pronounced its plane without fault, and that was good enough for Air Canada's then president, Pierre Geniot.
You will note that no airlines has canceled any orders as a result of that mishap.
But what about Michel Asselin? After 22 years, had the top pilot really just lost all his senses that day? Or had something in the plane let him down?
In front of you is something coming, and then you are waiting for what? For thrust coming. And then when the thrust doesn't come, you crash. That's it.
But the official version was pretty simple. It was your fault. You were flying too low, too slow. You put the power on too late.
I was too low because I suspect an altimeter, barometric altimeter, malfunction.
You were at 30 feet, but the altimeter was reading
100, and I always say so that I was flying, leveling off at 100 feet.
too slow.
If you don't have any power, when you push the throttle, certainly after a certain time your speed is slowing, that's sure. But then the problem came from the engine.
And you tried to get power sooner,
Yeah, sooner, but I had no answer.
but the computer wouldn't put the order through.
Exactly.
Indeed, there had been warnings from Airbus about the altimeter. The height gauge, Asselin says, failed. And engine problems at low altitude. Asselin says he'd never been told. Airbus says they were irrelevant in the crash. But the real cause should have been obvious. Every action, function, malfunction in an airliner is recorded in what they call the black box. It's an undisputed record of every second of every flight. From the black box printout the authorities got pilot error, Asselin discovered something else.
So 5 seconds before the trees, I tried to gain altitude with my stick.
That's the red line.
But then the red line, but the blue line shows that there's the elevator response, and it's going to the down 0 when I was up 7.
You were trying to get the plane to go up. The
Exactly.
computer was sending the plane down.
Take me down now. That is the official flight data recorder, just proving that the flight controls does not follow my orders.
Asselin says the computer safeguards, sort of like training wheels on a bicycle, were keeping the plane stable, up at just the proper angle, but the computer had no eyes. It was blind to the danger ahead. From Airbus, Robert Alazar and Yves Benoit say the computer is supposed to override a reckless pilot.
Mr. Asselin owes his life today to the 320, which made this aircraft actually land smoothly in the trees. Another conventional aircraft would have probably stalled, fallen out of control, and Mr. Asselin would be a thing of the past today.
If he were making a landing, he did a good one.
Wrong place.
That's the problem.
From the black box, the cause should have been clear. But mysteriously, the tape had been cut. 4 critical seconds were missing. And other strange things in the first printouts, the date, even the geographical position.
The first version, they put the date on the 31st May 1988. We crashed nearly 26 days later, so I don't understand that. And then the geographical position shows that we are in Zambia, somewhere in Africa over a game reserve. And we were not in Zambia, believe me. And I'm going to demonstrate in front of the court that is a forgery. That has been forged, these
Why?
documents. So I need to protect something or to hide something.
But how could the record possibly be forged? The black boxes are actually red, and these were just hustled off in the trunk of a police car, without ever being officially sealed as required by law. As for the missing seconds? Well, the company says that it was just a fold in the tape.
No way.
Or some dust.
It's funny just at that point. It's perfect during 25 minutes and just wrong in the last 10 seconds. It's funny.
You know the allegations that the recorders were tampered with, that the tapes were cut, that the data was falsified.
Yes, I know the allegation, and I think that there is a suit in a court of justice for that.
But it's not me making the allegation, it's judges in France that you're going to have to deal with.
No, it's not exactly true. It's some people which are saying of the tapes have been tampered. I think it is the word.
That's Asselin's word, but he is obsessed. He's lost his pilot's license in France, he's being sued for his accusations by Airbus and the government, and he could be charged with manslaughter. But now some outside experts are questioning the authenticity of the tapes too, and a local judge wants some answers.
In this magazine, there's already talk of another affaire Dreyfus, the French establishment ganging up on the wrong guy. Certainly, there's a lot going on. Some sensitive retirements and demotions within the Civil Aviation Authority, judges squabbling, everybody seems to be suing everyone else. Finally, the courts decided to start fresh, appointed an all-new inquiry, and it, by November, is supposed to say whether that crash can be blamed solely on the pilot.
Meanwhile, officials here had another A320 crash to investigate, and once again, pilot error is the conclusion of the Aviation Bureau in the French Ministry of Transport. December 5 last year, landing in Lille near Paris, this A320 rammed a private plane that had crept onto a foggy runway. Clearly, the small plane was at fault, but some pilots continue to wonder why the Airbus captain didn't in the last seconds just put on the gas and go around. And then this year, Bangalore, India, Valentine's Day, perfect weather. The A320 pilots, one of them an instructor, apparently had a mix-up programming the computer to descend. They were unaware of the danger, unaware they were too low, until it was too late. The Indian Airlines A320 came down on a golf course, 93 dead.
You were told this aircraft never stalls. No matter what you do, the aircraft never crashes. What happened?
Prince Dandona is an A320 pilot and head of his pilots' union, which disputes the preliminary finding, pilot error.
There's no way a guy could make such a stupid mistake, considering there are two experienced guys. There's no way. So there's something which let him, let him down at that crucial moment, which you could never get out of it.
Pilots make mistakes. That's always going to happen. But I assume that you can recover then from your mistakes.
They tried. Both the pilots tried. But somehow they could not get out of the situation.
What does that make you suspect when the aircraft gets it in its computer head to land, that it's going to land no matter what?
After a certain height, the aircraft is supposed to land automatically. It goes into a landing mode.
This time, the boxes would not be opened in France. The Indians shipped them to Ottawa for an independent investigation which will be finished any day. And in the meantime, the Indian government, when it couldn't unload its remaining 14 A320s, grounded them. And here they've stayed for 6 months, bleeding the airline of $60 million and feeding allegations in Parliament of government corruption in the purchase. Some of the planes are just now being returned to service, flying desperate refugees out of the Middle East. From Airbus, Robert Alazar, the spokesman, and Yves Benoit, the safety expert, blamed careless pilots for both crashes.
In both cases, they made perfect landings in the wrong place.
Because the pilot commanded them to land where they landed. If you ask an aircraft to land on a table, on a highway, it would land there, 320 or no 320. Any aircraft will land where the pilot takes it to.
But why does the pilot take it to the wrong place?
This is a question you must ask the pilots. I have no answer for that. There is no way I can answer that. I mean, I don't know what goes into their mind. I'm not a pilot, and
And to keep up with computer changes, 35 different editions of the basic flight manual. Other aircraft might have 5 or 6. This comes out like a monthly magazine. Also, 85 engineering bulletins, a perplexing list of things that have or might go wrong. This is a simulation of a bird strike. It happens all the time. But when it happened to Indian Airlines outside Delhi last year, the A320's screens went blank and the computer killed one engine.
We are having constant computer failures.
Indian Airlines had 36 major incidents in 5 months. Captain Prince Dandona.
We have nose wheel steering failures where after landing, the pilot has no control of the aircraft. Then we have...
And that's a computer problem?
Yeah, it's a software problem.
That's happened to you?
Yeah, it's happened twice to me after touchdown.
So you've touched down, you're hurtling down the runway and you can't steer it?
Yeah, you lose the control of the aircraft because the nose with steering has failed. Another problem we have experienced is on the final phases of flight, we have all the screens going off blank.
What?
On the final approach, we have all the screens going blank for a couple of seconds. Now, you don't have any reference whatsoever because all the data is blank. There are shortcomings. It's high time you did something about it and to make flying safer.